Okay, we'll start the recording.
Recording in progress.
Okay, are we good to go?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Yuba Water Agency Board of Directors meeting on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Let's start with Director Vasquez.
Here.
Director Bradford.
Here.
Director Hasty.
Here.
Director Purer.
Yes.
Director Blazer.
Here.
Director Fletcher.
Here.
And Director Matthews.
Here.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Great, thank you. Charlie, would you like to lead us in the pledge this morning?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Jim, could you read the public comment?
Public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Board of Directors on any subject matter that is not on the meeting agenda and is within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. Public comment periods are limited to 3 minutes per person, and the total amount of time for public comment is 15 minutes. Persons participating by way of a video conference or teleconference shall ensure their audio is muted at all times, except when the board chair announces public comment periods. At those designated times, members of the public wishing to speak shall enable their audio and state their name for the record. And when multiple members of the public wish to speak, the clerk will determine the order of speakers and announce their names accordingly. To ensure proper conduct, the board reserves the right to mute the audio and video of any member of the public violating generally accepted principles and decorum of official public meetings. We'll start with public comment in the room, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. I have one card from Mr. Charles Sharp. Morning, Charles.
Make sure you're on, Charles.
He's working on it.
It does not have a Charles.
Well, Andy's arranging it.
There we go.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Charles Sharp, Oregon House. Today, Westlands Water District in Fresno is going to vote on approving a water sale agreement with the North Yuba Water District, which was arranged behind closed doors with no public review. As I understand it, the Yuba Water Agency also sells water to the same Central Valley districts that the North Yuba Water District wants to sell its water to. Will the agency broker its relationship with these irrigation districts to inhibit this water sale? I would hope so. Since 2017, the Yuba Water Agency has given North Yuba hundreds of thousands in grants, but the North Yuba will not even provide you with an accounting of how your money was spent. I was there saying something is wrong, but I am just a peon. I am nothing. I'm nobody when it comes to what an agency wants. This money has helped embolden the general manager, so now he feels he can sell the district's water, depriving the people who should rightfully be getting this water. Gentlemen, you helped create this monster, and you please help slay it. Director, I'll leave that. It's incredible how this tiny little water district in the foothills with only 7 employees has become such a divisive element to the foothill communities, to the Yuba Water Agency, to Yuba County, to just about everything it touches. Such seems to be the nature of this public agency. Thank you for your time.
Charles? I said thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Anyone else in the room for public comment? Okay. I don't see anyone online either. So with that, we will move on to consent agenda.
Second.
Yeah, I have a first and a second. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda passes. Next, we will move on to discussion items. Item 4, receive a presentation from interns on projects completed during the 2022 summer intern program. Teresa?
I could probably do a quick intro for this one, Mr. Chair. Today we will have from our IT group, or David, do you want to introduce Tony? I can do it if you're good. Tony, is your last name Adolf? Am I saying that correctly? And then we also have Richard from Power Systems. He'll be up doing the presentation, and also Chris Egan, who's our administrative intern. And we're going to start with Tony. Okay, you guys seeing that? Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Yadav. I'm the IT intern for the summer of 2022. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Sacramento, California. My parents were both immigrants from Russia and Uzbekistan. Here's a little picture of us on one of those four-wheeled bikes. And if you've ever been to Santa Cruz, but they kind of do that over there, so we had fun doing that. And to give you a little background on my education, I went to Rio American High School, which is in Sacramento. I graduated in 2020, right when the whole COVID thing hit. So I graduated in front of a computer screen, but I'm definitely used to that now. I now attend American River College as a computer science major with an emphasis on cybersecurity. I'm planning to transfer to Sacramento State University to acquire my bachelor's. Spring of last year, I studied for the CompTIA Security Plus certificate. I got my certificate, which just covers the fundamentals of cybersecurity. Cover a little bit of my working experience. I started working at a very young age. I got my first job when I was 15. I worked under the FDA as a super secret undercover agent. I went to different gas stations and stores as a minor and try to buy tobacco. Sometimes I would wear a wire, and sometimes the FDA agent would come with me with whatever they needed, whenever they wanted, until I got this amazing internship. I definitely prefer working here, that's for sure. I'm more interested in IT and cybersecurity rather than light bulbs. So I got to meet the IT team in the annex office, and they immediately gave me a job. They wanted me to list out all the software that they had on every employee's computers. Simple enough sounding task, but little did I realize the large scope of how many systems the agency actually has. A little over 165 employee computers. Needless to say, I was definitely overwhelmed. I wanted to make sure I did a good job, but thankfully Wesley and Luke, Yuba's finest help desk technicians, helped me out. They let me use a software called PDQ Inventory, which just basically did a lot of the work for me, and I just had to organize it into this little Excel. This was done for a couple reasons. First was cybersecurity. We need to make sure all the pieces of software are up to date. Outdated software can be definitely a liability. And we also wanted to practice least privilege, which just means that the employees have what they need to do their job and nothing more. Because having pieces of software that don't really use can be another liability. It's also important to make an approved software list. So every department, every employee can go on a list and see what software is approved for their work, and they can pull from that list, and they don't really have to ask too many questions because we already deemed it to be approved and not malicious or anything like that. The IT department is taking a lot of steps to ensure cybersecurity. It's very important here, I realized. Thanks to Paula, our cybersecurity analyst, the network and systems are safe and secure. So here's just the scope of that Excel sheet. Definitely was pretty fun to do, a lot of work, but I did it. And here we have Cortex. So I was able to get familiar with Cortex. It's our endpoint protection. It analyzes any suspicious traffic going through our network and gives us alerts. Paula showed me the ropes and let me explore the tool. I was given a list of IP addresses that were determined malicious to put on the host firewall. Not only does our network have firewalls, but we also have host firewalls. Again, Yuba-Sutter agency takes cybersecurity very seriously. There's a popular saying in the cybersecurity community: a cyber criminal only has to be lucky once, while a defender has to be lucky every minute of every day. which is definitely true. Next, I worked with Tyler, our network administrator. We mapped out all the firewall rules and that blocks malicious actors from accessing any part of the network and make sure computers who need to talk to one another can talk to one another. I was completely impressed with the amount of work it takes on the network side of things just to make sure computers communicate in a secure way. A threat actor would have no chance getting in these systems because these rules block them at the door, just like Howard blocked people from entering Colgate. It was a privilege to take a peek at how the network is built to keep the infrastructure of our hardware plants up and running. Wesley and Luke let me tag along on their adventures. I remember the first week I was at Yuba-Water Agency, Wes took me to the N1, a plant that he hasn't even visited. And to go down to N1, you have to go in this little trolley. And, you know, a 20-year-old kid looking at this 80-degree angle going all the way down to this 50-year-old power plant, I definitely knew that I was somewhere that you can't experience this anywhere else. This internship definitely gave me a lot of experience that no other internship would ever allow me to. Down there, I helped the elect techs with some of their softwares, put some screen protectors on their surfaces and drivers that they needed for their systems. I also went to Colgate Powerhouse with Luke and Wes. We went to the control room to help with the label printers, which were responsible for printing danger and caution labels. We got those to print properly and even allowed other computers to print on that printer. Previous was just one computer to do that. I also helped with the conference room in the admin building by placing 2 new speakerphones so the people at the end of the table can hear their meetings. With Luke, we imaged and set up computers in the admin building as well. Here you can see a lovely picture of me and Wesley posing at the Colgate Powerhouse. Luke and I also tackled the conference room phone, which gave us both a headache. Luke is extremely determined, and once he has an eye on a problem, he will stop at nothing to fix it. Needless to say, we didn't fix it. I also got the opportunity to visit the sheriff's office, where we have some of our redundant switches. The first time I went with Wesley, where we did some housekeeping and removed some of the boxes that were stacked up from the previous work. The second time I was with Tyler, and Tyler was extremely helpful in showing me what we were there to do and explained every step and answered the 100 questions I had. He showed me how to enable VSS stack, which just made the switches even more redundant in case of any faults. I've learned so much working at the Yuba-Water Agency. It gave me an insight on how day-to-day operations are handled in a sizable agency, something you can never learn on your own at home, because at home you can have access to extremely expensive networking equipment or software. There's only something you can experience in the real world in the thick of it. I learned so much about the cutting-edge software that is used at the agency, like PDQ Inventory and Deploy, Cortex, and so much more. I also learned how to work in a more formal setting, because as you can tell from my previous jobs, my previous photos, wasn't the case. But the Yuba-Water Agency has a lot of cybersecurity in mind, a lot of security in general. We have the separation of duties, which just allows everyone to have separate jobs. So if a threat actor does get into one system, they can't have access to the entire network. Everyone's separate in their separate duties. I also learned how important change control is. Whenever the IT department needs to make a substantial change to anything, they would have record it for liability's sake. Lastly, I would like to thank everyone in the IT department, especially Luke and Wesley, for taking me everywhere they go. Made my experience amazing. David and Jason, Tyler for answering my questions. I threw at them, and Monty for letting me sit at his desk when he wasn't there. And lastly, I want to thank the board for giving me the time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from directors? Okay, well,
through the chair, just a quick comment. A great presentation. I'm pleased that you learned a lot. I would tell you, if you take that Cortex pattern and turn it into a plaid shirt, you could wear it the rest of your life. It just looked really neat. So,
all right.
Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Through the chair, I also want to say, as the son who does what you're planning on doing for a living, pretty impressive and great work. And thank you so much. And I want to appreciate the team, because I just think allowing them to see this and do this will make a huge difference in their long-term viability in the career they're going. And hopefully it's here, but if not, you guys have really made a difference, and thank you.
Just want to say thank you for the presentation. I think you did a great job. I loved the humor that you had scattered throughout it, and I think you did an outstanding job explaining key cybersecurity principles to the board that we do at the agency and that you learned about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Richard next.
Hey.
Hello. Hello, everybody. My name is Richard Newman. I'm a hydrologist internship with Yuba-Water Agency. Not working. There we go. A little bit about myself. I went to Sierra College for 2 years right after I graduated high school in 2018. After that, I went to Yuba College. I studied there for, I want to say it was 2 semesters. I played football for them for 1 semester. Then I left for the military. I went there for a couple of years. Now in the reserves with the Army. Yeah, now I'm back. I'm at Sac State. I'm studying engineering. I have a couple semesters left. Trying to get my engineering and mechanical, and maybe hopefully get my pilot's license pretty soon. All right. Okay. So here at the Yuba Water Agency, I work with the hydrologists, Caitlin and Carly and Charles, sorry. And then we're doing a lot of water discharge measurements, like canals and rivers and creeks and whatnot. We use a few highly sensitive equipment. One called the Adcp, the Acoustic Doppler Current Profiler, which we call just the Stream Pro. We use the Flow Tracker too. And I'll tell you about all these as we go on. And then a temp probe and data loggers. We also check groundwater levels. That's one for wells and whatnot. So if the farmers are pumping too much and don't have enough water, if groundwater drops too much, we'll be able to track that. And then we collect a lot of data from our hobo loggers. Ready? Over here, this is our ADCP, the Acoustic Doppler Current Profiler. So it goes in the river or stream or whatever we put it, connected to a rope. We put it on one side of the river. It goes to, slowly crosses the river to the other side. There's this blue sensor right in the front, and it shoots sound waves, and it picks up the ground and water flow, and it gives you temperature, and it gives you a whole bunch of data. Alrighty. This is us using it, the one on the right, connected to the truck, because it's a little sketchy area. This is one of the little canals for the farmers. And we have to get a good water measurement flow, make sure they're getting enough water, what they ordered, and you get enough for the guys that have to turn on the water on and off. And then the other side, this is Englebright Dam. This is more of a sketchy area. It's a big cable that runs across the top and has to be lowered by a winch down to the water. It's about 100 feet down. And then it gets stretched back and forth, and you just control it with a remote, and that one's pretty simple to do. That was a little hike to get up there, that's for sure. All right, the second one is called our Flow Tracker. This one's pretty much the same as the first one. As you see on the right, it has 3 lasers that come out. It catches water and particles as it flows by and gives you the proper water speed and temperature that goes by. Over here, this is where we use them. So this is I think this was the middle Yuba River on this side. And you stretch a tape across the river, and you have 25 sections you got to measure to try to get every little spot there to give you an accurate reading of how much water flows by. And the same thing over here. This is the Yuba River. I'm not sure what area this is, but it's the same deal. And yeah, I almost fell in right there. The rocks are really slippery. Alrighty. Then here's some of the data loggers and the water temperature probes that we use. This is just the one on the right is just for temperature. It goes in these probes. Caitlin helped me design these. I had to make at least 15 or 20 of these things, but PVC, sprayed them and covered them in some water resistant material. And then the one on the top on the left, this is a sensor, a water level tracker, and it goes off of how much pressure the object or the instrument feels and tells you how deep the water is so it can track it. This little equation on how that works. If you're interested in that. And that's pretty much the entire presentation right there. I just want to give a thank you to Caitlin, Carly, and Charles too, and then everybody else on the Yuba Water Agency that helped me out. When I came into this internship, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I knew I wanted to study mechanical, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, this was just a good opportunity to see what engineering is. Yeah, frankly, I thought it was going to be with the dam, like I had in the picture. I thought I was going to be doing some, cool stuff over there, but turns out there's a whole lot more than just the, electrical side and the hydropower that you guys do. I thought it was really good. Just want to give a thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Comments and questions from directors?
Too bad you didn't slip. You could have a story you could tell for years about the warmth of the river at that point. It's kind of cold up there, but
I fell in other places, but we don't speak of that.
So this is an exciting opportunity for you.
It is. It really is.
I'm even thinking about applying to be an intern next year.
And I think the best part was we saw a bear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Highlight of the internship.
Yeah. So telling the stories about this place for years.
Well, great. Thank you very much. And thank you for your military service. And I was glad to hear how helpful your internship was here with everything you learned and, helping you decide maybe where you want to pursue a career and that kind of thing. So it sounds like there was some great value, and we appreciate your service to the agency this summer too. So thank you.
While we're getting Chris Egan's PowerPoint up, I just wanted to take a second and introduce him. So, hey, I just want you to know every year we ask the managers, okay, do you want an intern? It's a lot of work, so because we don't take interns like to do filing, or we want. And so every year I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want an intern because it's a lot of work, and I don't want to shortchange them. And so I was not going to have an intern this year until a man named Chris Egan came to do an informational interview about what we do at the agency and why I like working for a public agency. And Creighton Avila and I were answering his questions. And about halfway through, we were about a half hour into it, and Creighton and I looked at each other, and it's like, oh, he should be an intern for us. And so I started recruiting him to be an intern. And boy, am I glad I did. Chris came on board and did several really valuable, really important projects for us. He did one for HR, one for strategic planning. And my favorite part of it, well, I have two favorite parts. One is he made it so it wasn't very much work. So it was really great. And also, I learned so much from him in the questions he asked. And like, well, why do you do it this way? I don't know, Chris, that's a really good question. Let me think about it. So I am delighted to introduce Chris Egan to you, who was our intern in administration this year.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Egan. Thank you so much, Terry. It's been an absolute pleasure working for the Water Agency and working with the excellent staff you guys have. Really, everybody's been really approachable, really friendly, and anytime I have a question, they're there to sit down with me, walk me through something. Even something like OCD, which is, if you guys ever sat down, it's not not the most straightforward process. So yeah, I'm really grateful for my time at Yuba Water Agency. So a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate student at Sacramento State University. I study public policy and administration. Prior to working here, I've worked in local government, I've worked in agriculture, and I've worked in the social service sector. I'm passionate about water policy. I'm really interested in how you develop programs and how you, create a collaborative culture at an agency where people feel free to approach each other and solve problems together. So over the course of my internship, I worked on 3 primary projects I worked on an exit interview analysis and offboarding overhaul. I looked at a prospective van pooling program and provided some analysis around that. And I did some employee engagement around the strategic plan update. In assistance, I did some work with the RFP. I did a preliminary insurance analysis, and I assisted with some community impact. Yeah, so the first project I worked on was the exit interview analysis and offboarding overhaul. Terry approached me with this project. She was really interested in updating our metrics around our retention, what's our turnover, how do we compare to other agencies, and then kind of looking into, you know, what do people say when they leave our agency? I think that in the exit interview process, you have the opportunity to be the most honest with your employer. And so being able to, kind of to execute that, I got all the data around, you know, our retention rate, how many people leave every year, what years were particularly high, kind of breaking down why that was. And then I also went through all of our exit interviews the last 10 years. And then there weren't enough to create a statistically significant findings, but I kind of provided some themes where there was a little bit more, everybody was saying kind of the same thing. And so I summed that all up into a report, which Creighton was really helpful in kind of helping me through. I think that provides something that is of value. Secondly, I looked at a prospective van pooling program. So a couple of years ago, the employees all got together, they rented an enterprise van, and they carpooled up to Colgate from Marysville. This program was a success. They eventually expanded to 2 vans, but the pandemic happened, and that, having 8 people in one car wasn't necessarily the best idea anymore. So Terry asked me to look into kind of what would a prospective van pooling program look like in the future. I identified some key factors that influence the success of employer-sponsored van pool programs, and I compared the cost and benefits of Yuba-Watter's transportation policy against several other van pooling programs. Right? We can do this can be done a lot of different ways. It's important you guys have something to compare to. Doing that, I created some metrics that develop a baseline for what Yuba-Watter is currently paying to operate their transportation policy. I developed a report that provides options for a van pooling pilot. And then I developed an employee questionnaire to identify interest in it, which has not yet gone out. And then finally, this is probably my biggest project. I conducted a number of focus groups with employee groups, 11 in total, generally in each team, to really do 2 things. First, educate employees on what the strategic plan is, why we have one, and why we're updating it, and what does that update process look like. And then I wanted to create the space for employees to solicit feedback to what might be included in a strategic plan update, as well as provide other feedback on how the agency can be doing better. I recently turned in a report that outlines participant responses and the key themes that can be incorporated into the strategic plan, then also be provided in a non-context. So I've been at Yuba-Watter for about 4 months. I've had the opportunity to kind of see how things work around here. I've noticed a few things that really impact the success of the organization. You guys have a really rigorous hiring process that really pulls in people that are experts in their field and people that have the cultural connection that they're open to collaboration. When there's a problem, they are open to, solving it as a committee, having multiple people in the organization, they can bring different perspectives. Opportunity-oriented leadership styles creates opportunities for experimentation and growth. A lot of agencies, I think Willie said this once, they're default no agencies. And so this agency really allows employees to explore an idea further, to identify if it's the right thing for organization to invest resources into. And I think that's a really key to our success. Cross-functionality is huge. At this agency, it's key to breaking silos and fostering solution tools. Again, I had the opportunity to sit in on OCB, which is, I think our number one, or one of our major cross-functional teams, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to see all these experts from different fields working together to really identify how much water, how much electricity we need to generate every day. And then accessibility to leadership and delegating effectively is massive for empowering employees. I think Yuba-Water does that really, really well. So after this internship ends, I'm actually beginning a position as a management analyst with the Rural County Representative of California. I actually start tomorrow. It's gonna be fun. And then in November, I complete and present my culminating project. I'm looking at Sigma's impact on sustainable groundwater agencies. And then in December, I graduate from Sacramento State with a master's in public policy and administration. Excellent. Well, I just want to thank the board. This was a great opportunity, a great experience. And I'm open to any questions you have.
The board, Chair. On the first element, you mentioned that there were some themes that you detected in the offboarding. What were those themes?
Oh, complaining about their supervisor. No, I think that a lot of people the overarching theme of most of them was that Yuba-Water Agency is a great place to work, provides great benefits, and but I mean, so again, I opened that up by saying there was a not a statistically significant amount of exit surveys. It's actually around 14%, which I worked at HR and we're trying to find a way to increase our response rate for exit interviews. So I just don't think that you can. I mean, any but would be one person.
Okay, so the 14% was the number of people who left that responded.
Yes.
Gotcha. On the second point with the van pooling, what was the cost savings there for us?
It depends on what you do. And I'd be happy to kind of sit down with you and kind of work through. I just don't have the report.
No problem. I was just curious. And then on
it was fairly significant, but obviously comes with certain insurance consideration. There's non-monetary consideration.
All right. And then on one of the slides, I think you had something about hiring preferences for collaboration. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So during my, I met with 11 teams at Yuba-Water. And a lot of them talked about this experience going through the Yuba-Water hiring process. And, the first interview is a standard interview. Second interview is to narrow things down. Third interview is where they would maybe meet Willie, meet Terry. That fourth interview is this cultural interview where they just sit and they talk. One person, I won't say their name, but they said they sat down to get coffee from Yuba-Water, and they just asked them about their family. And, from that conversation, they knew they were a fit at Yuba-Water.
So by hiring preferences, it was that culture of community. That's what the hiring preference was.
But I want to make sure that those first three are about getting the right candidate, getting the absolute best person in the field to do the job.
Through the chair. Richard, I look forward to seeing you at RCRC. I think you're going to have a lot of fun there as well. One of the other questions you may want to ask in your carpool is what would encourage you to buy or build a house within a short driving distance of Oregon House? In lieu of a carpool, well, let's just get you closer and living in Yuba County. And that might be a question that comes up in the near future. What are the encouragements needed that could be supported by the board that would get you to build in Yuba County? So you may want to ask that question. Thank you for the presentation. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm assuming when you did this van search that you also worked on making sure you looked at electric vans, right? Because I know, Willie, that's important, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Great job.
Through the chair, one of the biggest pluses for working with the water agency is the attitude that people have and the pleasurable experience of working with people who actually row in the same direction, considering the way the world is today. And I'm glad you recognize that, because that's a plus that they really don't push as well as they should, because we have people that stay here forever, and it's a great place to work. And when are you coming to work? Of course.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. I feel like every person I had the opportunity to interact with really passionate about what they did, and really enjoyed their experience with the agency.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate what you did for us this summer. It sounds like you did some great work, and congratulations on the position at RCRC. And it sounds like if you ever decide you want to do something else, you know what a great place it is to work here at Yuba-Water. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, next up is manager's report.
Well, so like I said last time, normally annually I get to go one time after the interns, and this year I get to go 3 times after the interns. It's never fun. So, so last week or 2 weeks ago I think we had 3. This week we have 3, and I think in a couple weeks we have 2. So there's one more round of intern presentations. But I can't leave here not all 3 sat through last week's, or we'll sit through next week. So I have to thank them. Well, I'd like to thank all 3 interns, and I got to thank the staff for putting this together and the board for supporting it. Our internship program is great. I think these folks are learning things that, like Brent said, they're going to take throughout their careers. And I think what we're trying to show folks is truly the culture of an effective organization, and the collaborative approach and the openness. And this is stuff that will stick with them the rest of their careers, and hopefully this will perpetuate, in other businesses wherever they end up, throughout their careers. So. Let's see, Chris, Richard, and Tony, thank you so much, and thanks, staff. Okay, on to the manager's report. Bullard's Bar, slightly above average year to date. Our operations and maintenance folks just continue with routine operations and maintenance. 2 meetings ago, I reported on an abnormal trip of Colgate unit number 1 due to a third harmonic relay. I went into a lot of detail about that abnormality and its protection for the unit, and to avoid major costs if there was actually something wrong. I think it was last meeting I reported that we found the setting was slightly off due to changed conditions. We reset the setting. We put the unit back in service. We thought everything was great. Well, the unit tripped again on Saturday, and we did have some lost generation opportunity. And in investigating the situation Monday, the team, actually the manufacturer, identified an error in the spreadsheet that is used to determine the protection value. And so they caught that error. We adjusted the value, recalibrated the relay, and put the unit back in service. Now, we did talk a lot of detail about what this actual device prevents or protects against, and Phil is looking into an existing relay that we have installed recently that serves the same purpose, and it's actually more effective, and actually using that relay to serve the purpose of this older, more outdated relay. So we're going to look into that. Hopefully we'll get that in service at the next outage, and this issue will be beyond us. But no damage to the unit's in service. It was just an error in the spreadsheet. So wanted to follow up, and here again, another abnormal trip we had to deal with. And I got to thank the team so it happened on Saturday, and the team was out there within an hour, and they worked on testing the unit on Sunday just to make sure there was no major damage. I mean, my first question is, did anyone get hurt? The next question is, does it smell like electrical fire? That's not a good sign, right? So the answer to that was no, and so we knew it was just an abnormal trip, and we fixed it. So unit's in great shape. Okay, so all the units are in service. We're not currently in outage. We're planning for the fall outages. On the flood risk side of things, some pretty good news here. DWR announced that Trillia will be awarded $9.7 million for phase 2 of the North Training Wall from the latest round of Prop 68 funding. DWR has also indicated that Yuba Water's prior investment of $3 million towards phase 1 will count as the local share of the total $12.1 million phase 2, meaning that the final phase of the North Training Wall will be constructed without the need of additional local funds. And this project will satisfy the FEMA 100-year flood certification for the community of Hallwood and is designed so the finished grade of the levee is constructed 5 feet higher than the 200-year water surface elevation. And we want to point out this is a great example of how we leverage our resources to help our partners attract outside funding. Because of our previous investment of $3 million, Trillia will realize an additional $12.1 million from the state toward the pursuit of improving flood risk for the people of Yuba County. Excellent news there. We're still in drought. We're in the beginning of second day of a week-long heat wave. We're seeing, not necessarily record temps, but a sustained heat wave that causes significant electricity demand because it's so widespread. We're seeing near record demands in the CalISO grid, and therefore, not record prices, but sustained high prices. Not good for all of us for our comfort index, but good for the revenues. Okay, this is kind of an odd one, but the blob is returned. You'll see in your packets, the blob is a warm patch in the Pacific. This phenomenon, although not a very technical name, occurred in the previous drought of 2013 through 15, and it's reappearing now in the Pacific. So what that means for drought, what that means for our long-term weather patterns, we don't know, but it's being picked up as a condition that's developing. Okay, human resources update. We're pleased to welcome our new staff accountant, Natalie Mika-Levesky, who starts work in the finance department on Wednesday, August 16th. And Natalie holds a bachelor's of science in accounting from Penn State University. She held an accounting analyst and IT project analyst position at Union Pacific Railroad, and most recently worked as a staff accountant at Field True Organic in West Sacramento. And we look forward to welcoming Natalie to the Yuba Water Agency team. Panel interviews for the environmental specialist, senior, and supervising elect techs have been completed, and the staff is working through next steps for final selections. The Human Resources Information Systems team has completed final demos on an information system and has met to review and evaluate the scores. The HR team hopes to make final recommendations on the system by early fall. HR staff is also working with Jackie Silman and the HR departments from Yuba County, City of Marysville Joint Unified School District, and Adventist Health Rideout to hold our first ever career fair for Beal families, spouses, and transitioning military staff. This is intended to allow service members, spouses, and young adults to meet with Yuba County employers to discuss careers available in education, engineering, public safety, healthcare, and administration. The event will be held in late September at the Peachtree Inn. Government relations update. Last week, the Newsom administration made high-level policy announcements related to both energy and water. On the energy side, the administration released 5 high-level climate-related proposals for legislative action this year. They include proposals to accelerate existing clean electricity goals and create a legally binding statewide carbon neutrality goal for 2045. While these are significant policy developments, if enacted, they will not alter the fundamental position of our system or value of our product in the overall statewide grid and market. On the water side, the administration released a water supply strategy that aims to reinforce statewide water security in the face of diminished overall supplies. The strategy emphasizes recycling and desalination, but there are some areas of alignment with our priorities on issues like dam safety funding and integrating improved forecasting into water management decision-making. There are also some water rights proposals that we'll be keeping an eye on. Some of the elements of the strategy will require new legislation, while others will be implemented under existing authority. And we'll be watching both of these policy developments closely moving forward. Communications and community relations. The Appeal Democrat and several other outlets included coverage of the Ninth Circuit Court's decision overturning FERC's ruling that the State Water Board waived its authority to issue a water quality certification on our project and others. The appeal also covered your board's approval of the MOU to investigate a natural resource research center in Wheatland and the presentation from our interns at the last meeting. We're planning our next lunch and learn on August 24th, focusing on hydropower and how our hydro benefits California and how the revenue from it benefits the people of Yuba County. In community relations, we're sponsoring the Adventist fundraiser Dancing with Our Stars on August 20th, the Beale Military Liaison Council's annual Patriotic Golf Tournament on August 25th and 26th, and Plumas Lake Block Party on August 27th. Looking ahead to September, we're sponsoring the Savor Say Love dinner on September 10th, the Yuba River cleanup, and are developing a plan for our participation in that event, which is now taking place over a week from September 10th through 17th. We're also putting together a team for the Walk to End Alzheimer's, which we are sponsoring on September 10th. If you'd like to participate with us or contribute to the team's fundraising goal of $2,000, let Mandy know. And lastly, a reminder that you can sign up to go on one of the salmon expeditions this fall. And Dee Dee sent an email to all of you last week, and you can sign up directly on the webpage she sent to you. Lastly, we also want to share that the new and improved look and design of our website is now live. The comms team has been working for the last year on the refresh project, and it's now done, and they'll be shouting that from the rooftops later this morning. Please check it out. Actually, Jim's going to show it to you now, and we hope you find it easier to navigate and as well as visually appealing. So there's the new look of the website refresh. And our upcoming meetings are September 6th. We'll have a regular board meeting and an ABP meeting. And want to remind you that, as Terry mentioned in her email update to you all on Friday, we will not need to convene the tentatively scheduled special board meeting on August 30th. That's the 5th Tuesday of the month, and we will not be having a meeting that day. That's all.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from board members?
Could you explain a little bit more the white paper you sent out on the hoops you have to go through to transfer water?
So for the board's knowledge, Charlie, or Director Matthews, asked me about water transfers and what makes a legitimate water transfer. And in 2019, Department of Water Resources put out a white paper on how you determine water transfers or the minimum requirements for a water transfer. I forwarded Director Matthews that document, and it basically outlines the framework of the requirements of a water transfer. I don't know that, Charlie, I need to go into detail all of them, but if you have any questions about any different type of water transfer. I was wondering
the applicability of the white paper to the proposed transfer of North Yuba.
So I haven't seen a North Yuba Water District water transfer proposal. There's no, so what happens when you apply for a water transfer, the State Water Resources Control Board reviews the application and then posts the application on their website for public comment. And there's currently not a North Yuba Water District water transfer proposed on the State Board's website.
Now, is it also, if there's prior water rights or pre-14 water rights, they don't have to get permission from the Resource Control Board. If they're after 14, they do.
So, Charlie, you're asking questions that are pretty detailed about the white paper. I do believe the pre-14 rights are treated differently, but unless you look at an actual proposed transfer, it's tough to make generalities, about the validity of the transfer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. So next, director's comment. So Director Vasquez.
Yes, we had a meeting with the budget process with Yuba County, and each department got to present their accomplishments and their goals for the future year. And I'd like to see us start that for the different departments. It was an eye-opening experience in that, we assume that these things happen in a back room somewhere, but when you see the people that are involved with it, and you learn the effort that goes into every little thing. And I think that would be really good for transparency with the public, because we really don't know what to tell them other than, they do a great job. So if that's something we could do, I'd really appreciate it. So that's it.
Director Blazer.
I agree with Andy. That was a good exercise we went through with the county. On another matter, Ellis Lake has taken a turn for the worse. I think we're gonna.
You're still studying.
Yeah, so we're gonna look into that a little closer. Not sure yet who we is, but there's something that's gone south on that.
Thank you, Director Fuhr.
Just again, commend the director at the interns. Great presentations today. I enjoyed them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hasty.
Yeah, a few things today. Sorry. One, interns, great job. So proud of that program. It is amazing to see what you guys are doing. Just a couple things coming up. So Jared Bloomfield is retiring as our Secretary of EPA for California. We have a new person coming in whose strength came through the environmental justice programs. So I know that Adam is going to be thinking about how he's going to relate to her and how we're going to work through that. But I do think that we, as an agency, have been pretty strong on environmental justice, and we can really look at what we've done in Yuba County to protect everybody, especially from when you consider our levees and our work that we do. And so I just want to make sure we build that relationship. The other thing I wanted to make sure of is we don't forget who Jared Bloomfield is, since he is taking over a $4 billion climate fund. And I really do think that we should ask him if he would like to work on a really nice project like a park spillway. I mean, the reality is he's got $4 billion given to him from the Steve Jobs widow, and he knows us and he knows the project. And I think it's worth asking the questions, I mean, 10 million here, 10 million there, you pay for a project. So I think it would well be worth it. And it would be a great way for us to connect with him into that world of foundation. So I think it's well worth our time. The last thing, we were talking about this at the NACWA meeting yesterday. One of the things that I think we need to really watch very carefully is the work on the Colorado River. The Colorado River is collapsing. And the reality for us is, we think, oh, that's Southern California. And the reality is we are California. And I think that as the Colorado River collapses, it's going to have impacts all over the state of California on how those water transfers are moved, how water is brought about. They're not going to let LA, south of Bakersfield, fail. And so we really do need to understand the Colorado River, which seems really out of our area, but is going to have a huge impact. And so watching that process is important. And lastly, one of the things they said yesterday at NACWA is 50% of the legislature will be new coming in this year. So our programs to teach them, I mean, I think this does two things. One is it really, we got a lot of learning to do. So, Adam's going to be scheduling tours from now further ever because it's going to take a lot of time to get them up to speed. I also think that it probably gives more power when we have a brand new legislature to the administration. And so continuing our relationships with Carla at DWR and the people within the administration is going to be vitally important over the next couple of years as we finish out the voluntary agreement. So just some thoughts. So thanks.
Thank you, Director Matthews.
Oh, nothing more.
Okay. Director Fletcher.
So last week at the Board of Supervisors, both Andy and I were appointed ourselves to an ad hoc committee on fire safety in the foothills. And we've had one short meeting just to let everyone know there will be a presentation next Tuesday at the Board of Supervisors with the focus of our fire safety. Where were we? Where are we? And are we missing anything moving forward? So you're all invited to attend, participate if you'd like. Depending on the outcome, I could also bring this to the water agency for presentation if you'd like, if you can't make next Tuesdays. So just let me know about that. But I think it'll be very informative. There are potentially a couple of pieces that we could add to the puzzle that makes this a safer community in the foothills. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So speaking of tours of the facilities, I had lunch yesterday with the Vice Commander from Beale, and I know Willie has an upcoming meeting with Commander and Vice Commander, I believe, from Beale. Now that we're restarting tours, he is very interested in getting on a tour. So whatever we can do to get that scheduled, he's thinking maybe October, if that works for us, would work well for him. So, and I'd be happy to participate in that. Anything from other staff? Okay, seeing none, we will take a 10-minute break, and then we have a closed session as listed on the agenda. So thank you.
Recording.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe with lessons in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.